What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Dr. Lindsay Elmore, back again for some more health and wellness education. Today, we're going to be talking about toxic emotions, and we're going to be talking about how toxic emotions are, we called it being overweight or making you fat or whatever you want to say, but can we just call a spade and say, like, how toxic emotions are causing every problem in your life, like all of the problems, right? So, how many of you suffer from having negative emotions, negative self-talk, toxic emotions? You got trauma that you haven't dealt with, even though you've known about it for years and years. What is your, what are the ways that you struggle in the way that you talk to yourself, right? Because the way that we talk to ourselves actually has physiological impact on us. The words that we choose have impact on our overall health. And so when we think about negative emotions, right? Negative emotions are anything that causes you to be sad, to generally just dislike yourself, things that reduce your confidence, things that reduce your self-esteem, anything that steals your satisfaction in life is a negative emotion. And so these negative emotions can be things like hate, that can be things like anger, jealousy, sadness. I think probably worthiness is one of like the most one of the biggest roadblocks I think that women have to change is just simply feeling like we're not worth it, right? We're not worth going to the gym. We're not worth getting that extra 15 minutes of sleep. We're not worth that one less glass of wine. We're just not worth it. And so that unworthiness, I'm here to tell each and every one of you today, you are worthy and you do not have to be held hostage by the negativity that swirls all around us. So, what are some of the negative emotions that you guys deal with, that you guys are like, where does this stress arise? Because these negative emotions can cause this downward spiral that not only makes us not behave rationally, it makes us not perceive things from their true perspective. We get caught in what are called the 3 Ps. This is something that I teach over and over and over again. The 3 Ps are things that are holding you back from overcoming trauma as well as overcoming negative emotions. And so the 3 Ps, somebody type them into the chat, all the things, type them in. So the 3 Ps are persistence, personalization, and pervasiveness. So the pervasiveness, we tell ourselves everything is horrible, right? Everything is horrible. Everything in my whole life is horrible. One bad thing happened and now everything is horrible. That's pervasiveness, okay? Persistence is when we tell ourselves, and you know what? It will always be horrible. It will always be horrible. And then the personalization is, you know what? It's my fault that it's horrible. So we have to recognize when we get into this negative emotional spiral, we have to stop ourselves, literally stop ourselves every time that we start going down the rabbit hole of pervasiveness and personalization and persistence. Those 3 things lead us into an emotional state where we have this negative emotional state. We're ruminating over it. And then what happens is our body generates a stress response to that. So, I mean, I love when people just are really vulnerable and out there with like what we're saying. So, like, what negative emotions do you deal with? Because I got a punchline for you guys. Every human being deals with the exact same negative emotions, just like we all have the exact same positive emotions, right? So people saying like, disrespect of that work-life balance. I feel shame. I feel guilt. I see, like, it's hard sometimes, especially when you're bullied. Yes, Jennifer, absolutely. Oh, the pervasiveness. That's my current situation. Just stop. Yes. People going like, I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough to do this. Nobody will listen to me. All of those are things that happen to all of us all of the time. And it is a choice to stop that thinking. Let's say that you're unable to stop that negative thinking. Well, what happens then is there is a complex reaction to our emotions that involve both our biological and physiological processes. Our brain starts making hormones as well as neurotransmitters that activate us into a state of arousal. Okay. So now we're in this heightened emotional state, and all emotions, whether positive or negative, can lead to this heightened emotional state. And then what happens, what follows that, is that we have a physiological response to the stress that our emotions have caused us, right? And when we have these negative emotions, it leads to the production of cortisol. So, cortisol is absolutely critical for your survival. You will die without cortisol. Cortisol is created by your adrenal glands, which are on top of your kidneys. And cortisol, yes, it's produced when we're under stress, but it also is produced to help govern our circadian rhythm, and it governs our sleep and our wake cycles. And so we tend to think of cortisol as like a fight or flight hormone, because what it does is it pauses many of our normal body functions, right? It pauses a lot of our normal body functions, including our metabolism, which is why you struggle to lose weight when you have a sour, sad outlook on life. Like, if you just let stress continue to get to you, everything will break down. Everything will break down, because let's recall, what are our eight root causes of disease, right? The chief among them, the one that is the worst of all, that makes everything worse and causes every disease, is stress. So we must manage our stress even more so than we pay attention to toxins and allergens and infections and our nutrient status, our sleep, our sedentaryism, as well as like sociogenomic factors. The chief among all problems and all root causes in the body is stress, and cortisol is the primary stress modulator. When it is an excess amount, cortisol can cause your body to metabolize a ton of fat and carbs so that you can have these surges in energy, which is critical for survival, but it also increases your appetite. And so when you are under stress, we tend to have cravings for sweet, fatty, and salty foods, and you're more likely to make a bad choice when you are under stress. When you are under a ton of stress, it can cause you to not be in a situation where you're making a good decision about what all you're eating. Another thing that cortisol does when we're under stress is it decreases the amount of testosterone that our bodies make. Well, guess what? When you decrease testosterone, you also simultaneously decrease muscle mass. And muscle mass is, number one, the currency of aging. If you are interested in healthy aging, you must have good muscle mass. And if you haven't started yet, start today lifting weights and doing resistance training, because it is the currency of healthy aging. The other thing that muscle mass does for us that is specifically helpful for our metabolism is it keeps you insulin sensitive. Muscle is like a sink for glucose, right? And if you don't have enough muscle mass, you don't have a way of getting rid of all of the glucose. Well, this leads to elevations in our blood sugars, which leads to elevations in our insulin. And remember that the insulin problem, as well as the cortisol problem, is typically underlying every other hormonal problem. It's like an iceberg. So you may have people who are, they're interested in MRA. They've seen you maybe posting about Ignite, and they're coming to you and they're saying like, man, I really need to work on my estrogen, my testosterone, my progesterone. I just had my hormones checked. My testosterone is low, which means that I'm not going to get as much muscle mass, all the things. You can educate that person that that's the tip of the iceberg, the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Up under that is typically a thyroid problem, and up under that is typically a insulin or a cortisol problem, or both. So cortisol, now we're seeing suppressing our testosterone, which is causing us to have less muscle mass, which is now throwing the insulin balance off. And that is one of the ways that it impacts our metabolism. And it's one of the ways that we become resistant to losing body weight when we sit in ruminations of negative emotions. Okay. The other thing that cortisol does that jacks up your metabolism is that when you have too high levels of cortisol, instead of your primary storage hormone of your thyroid, T4, getting converted into the more active form of thyroid hormone, which is T3, we see that cortisol causes T4 to be transitioned into reverse T3. So reverse T3 is similar to T3, but it just doesn't work as well. It's just like a crappy version of thyroid hormone. It goes in, it takes up all the receptor space where T3 would be, and just kind of like halfway turns on the receptor. So that's another way that toxic emotions are impacting our overall metabolism. And so this slowdown in the metabolism that happens because of this interplay between our brain telling ourselves everything is horrible, it will always be horrible, and it's my fault that it's horrible, causes an increase in cortisol, which jacks up our thyroid hormone as well as our testosterone. This can lead to weight gain. It also leads to fatigue, that feeling where you just don't want to get out of the bed. It leads to sadness, all the things, as well as health complications. Negative emotions have actually been directly related to high blood pressure as well as type 2 diabetes, right? And so these negative emotions and these negative thought patterns, if we don't change them, have broad reaching impact on our overall health and well-being. We also see that negative emotions suppress the immune system. Now we are suppressing the immune system. And here's another thing too. We tend to think of obesity and overweight being something that exists around the midline, right? A big belly is what we typically envision. But because of this interplay of stress and insulin and testosterone, the reductions in muscle mass, all the things, what we actually see is that we have an epidemic of people who appear to be normal, healthy, walkie-talkie body weights, They are what is called skinny fat, because all of their musculature as well as their liver is infiltrated with fat, and that is dangerous. We do not want that fat around our organ system because it is pro-inflammatory, right? It's pro-inflammatory. So immune systems and emotions, this is my world, friend. We have the opportunity on a daily basis to craft our own reality, right? I was listening to the Ed Milet show the other day, and the guest said, what's the difference between faith and fear? Like, what's the difference? Nothing. You decide on either one of them. You just decide. You decide on either one of them. Another phrase that I really like to remember whenever I get into what we call a stinking thinking, when I get into those patterns where I just am like, okay, I've got to stop all of this. Remind yourself that fear says, what if? You know, what if I try this supplement that Lindsay's about to tell me about, which is going to help reduce cortisol? What if it doesn't work for me? Well, okay, what if we just transition that language into even if I try this supplement and it doesn't work, okay, then what? It brings it back down to a more rational, reasonable thought process, because when we are in negative spiraling patterns of thought, it doesn't allow us to be logical, right? We must flip from the amygdala, the ancient portion, the limbic system of the brain, back into our prefrontal cortex. And that's what we're trying to do by processing and dealing with these negative emotions. And so how do we do it, right? How do we do it? Well, number one, okay, so I was listening to the Doctor's Pharmacy yesterday with Dr. Mark Hyman, and he quoted a study that said that when women feel negative emotions, they actually do better when they let them out. Shocking, right? So getting your negative emotions out and just acknowledging, hey, I'm angry, and anger is okay. I'm feeling sad right now, and that is okay. And just intentionally crafting the language to be something different, be something better. I remember I was in Target a couple days ago, and I was just like, I am so depressed right now. I'm so sad. I don't even know what's going on with me. And then I just stopped and redirected my focus, right? So you can redirect your focus onto something else, right? So how do we do that? How do we do it, right? A ton of ways that we can work on processing these negative emotions. Practicing relaxation. I don't care how you do it. If it's mindfulness, is it meditation? Is it yoga? Is it deep breathing? Is it journaling? I heard John Maxwell say this morning, as I was listening to John Maxwell, he said, jot before you journal. So if you are someone who's like, I can't write this journal, like Linz, I don't even know what to write. I feel confused. I don't know. Just jot things down. Jot before you journal. Just get the emotions out. A really good therapist works for practicing and learning your triggers. Yes. What triggers you? What triggers you to be angry? What triggers you to make bad decisions about your health? What triggers you to, and also I also like the flip side of that. Like, what triggers you to get up and go to the gym, right? Is it the fact that you laid out your clothes the night before? I know people that have they'll sleep in their gym clothes because they're trying to change a habit to where they wake up at 5:36 in the morning and go directly to the gym. It's a thing. You can do that. And so, yeah, what's triggering you? And so somebody says, so I need a trigger to go to the gym. That's where your purpose comes into play. that's where you are living for something bigger than yourself, right? And so, you know, whatever is bigger than you that you're living for. I mean, do you want to be able to chase grandchildren around? Do you want to live like they do in the blue zones where everybody's pretty dang healthy until they just kind of drop dead one day? You know, this whole thing of being sick for years and years it doesn't have to be a thing. And so think about what is bigger than you. Patty gets up every single morning and walks miles and miles, and she does it really, really early because she lives in Florida, and so it's freaking hot by 8 a.m. And so get out there and just grab a buddy, grab an accountability buddy, all of the things. So that is one of the ways you can, okay, so we talked about mindfulness, meditation. How else do we get rid of this stress response? Intuitive eating. Guys, can we take inventory of like, when are we actually hungry before we eat? Like, are you actually hungry? That's something that we really need to craft our relationship around. And so eating in a way that is not stressful, not watching the news while you eat, not having stressful conversations while you eat, actually doing what Dr. Karen Dunstan calls like making love to your food before you eat it, is we need a relationship with our food. And that when you allow yourself to eat anything that you want, right? Because we often give away our power to food. Like the chocolate cake across the room does not inherently have power. You denying yourself the chocolate cake, causing a stress response in you to now where you feel like you must have the chocolate cake or you will die, is a choice, right? We give the cake power by saying, oh, you can't have that. And we do that by putting shame around food. And we do it in that we have somehow come to the conclusion in our society that body weight is equal to like a moral statement, a moral compass. But that's not necessarily true. If you hate yourself just so you can be thin, is it really worth it? I mean, is it really, truly worth it? So we need to practice intuitive eating. You can also hit the gym, beat up a pillow, you guys, get the emotions out, because you need to push through the negativity so that you don't feel like you are in a situation where you are actually leading to disordered eating, disordered workout patterns. In fact, there was a study that came out in 2020 that basically looked at people who have eating disorders as well as disordered thought processes. And the more likely people were to identify with guilt, shame, fear of someone else's like perception of them, sadness, stress, the more likely they were to perceive themselves as fat, right? As well as it worsened all of the fear of weight gain. And we know that the feeling of shame actually predicts our fear of weight gain. And so we must get out of these patterns if we want to shift the way that our metabolism runs. Okay. So you may be sitting here today and going like, all right, Linz, I hear you. I need to go to the gym. I need to like be making some better choices with my food. I need to get better sleep. I need to whatever it is. And you may be sitting there going, I just want some help. Okay. I hear you. And so if you are aiming to make a new positive change in your life that can help you to not only process negative emotions, but also help with a happy, healthy body weight, because that's ultimately what we're after. Is we want to feel at home in our skin. And so I created a template for you with some products that you can consider using. And so this healthy body weight is going to combine several of my favorite products that all work together. So the first product is called Happy Juice. And Happy Juice is the combination of 3 products. And put together, these 3 products help with reductions in cortisol, increases in dopamine, increases in serotonin, as well as improvements in our GABA signaling. And GABA is the primary relaxatory neurotransmitter in the body. Okay. So that is the benefit just from one of the products in Happy Juice. Then you have another product called Edge that tastes absolutely amazing. You can get it in either a watermelon flavor or a grape flavor. And Edge is for mood, metabolism, and motivation. So this will help to get you that motivation that you need to get off of the couch and go and get your workout on, all of the things. Then you have Energy Plus, which comes in 2 varieties. There is the original as well as a caffeine-free and sugar-free variety. I prefer the pomegranate lime flavor, which has the original is the little bit of caffeine and a little bit of sugar. I feel like it gives me a little bit more pep in my step for sure. And so that product is also there to just provide that quick lift of energy that we need to feel that motivation just to get going, right? Somebody just asked, what do you do when your body makes too much serotonin? In general, unless there is like a fundamental problem with the function or structure of the brain, your body is not going to send you into serotonin syndrome because of your bacteria in your gut, right? So the mentibiotics, which works on the serotonin system, is filled with 3 different strains of probiotics that are matched with prebiotics to help feed them. And they support the overall function of the gut-brain axis. But your body is very intelligent. It's not going to make these absurdly high, excessive levels of serotonin. Now, that said, if you're on medications that cause serotonin syndrome, or especially if you're on like mega doses of things like antidepressants, then we may want to use some more caution. But it simply comes down to, can you monitor for the signs and symptoms of too high a serotonin? And as scary as serotonin syndrome is, I honestly have never seen serotonin syndrome in my career, right? And so it's scary, but it's exceedingly rare. It's exceedingly rare. Do you need to take regular probiotics alongside mentibiotics? That kind of depends, right? So our goal as we're working on our gut health is to work on diversifying and expanding. We want to diversify the types of bacteria in our gut, and we want to expand the number of bacteria in our gut. And so if you have mentibiotics and then you take, and maybe you do a bundle and save with the probiotics, you may end up in a situation where you're able to even further expand your probiotic balance right there because you're using different strains. And so inside of mentibiotics, you have Lactobacillus rhamnosus, and you have the strain specific, you have strain specificity in here. So it's not just Lactobacillus rhamnosus, but it's specifically the R0011 strain, right? But then if you look at the probiotics, you may be getting a Lactobacillus acidophilus, etc. So we can diversify and expand what we're using. Okay. So there's that as well that goes into it. Now, somebody just said, what do I do if my body is making too much estrogen? My guess is your body's not making too much estrogen. My guess is that your liver is clogged and that you cannot detoxify your estrogens. So when we think about hormones, everybody wants to go, oh, my body's making too much. Probably not, right? But when we think about hormone function, we have to look at the what's called the PTSD of hormones, and it's not post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD stands for production, transportation, sensitivity, and detoxification. Okay, so we have to produce the estrogen, then you have to transport it to the cellular receptor, then you have to have a cellular receptor that's actually sensitive to it and not bound up by some other fraud. And then you have to detoxify the hormone, right? And so oftentimes what's actually going on is you cannot detoxify, especially estrogen, because estrogen goes through a really specific process called enterohepatic recirculation. So entero means stomach or gut, hepatic means liver. And so what it does is it circulates. And guess what governs that circulation? Your microbiome. So your microbiome is critical for helping to detoxify estrogens and move them out of your body. Therefore, you may not have an overproduction problem. You may have a lack of detoxification problem, which is leading to estrogen dominance, right? So there's that too. So Cheryl, I am sending you just so much love because I don't want to see you have a neuroendocrine tumor because you are too valuable, sweet friend. So happy juice is what we're going to start with. Okay. Then we are going to bundle up some GBX Fit. So GBX Fit is the world's first quad biotic. It is specifically designed to help with weight loss. Okay. And so the reason that it helps with weight loss, I think, is pretty dang cool, because oftentimes what happens, we get into over promising and under delivering when it comes to supplements, right? But this supplement, the way that it works is it has a probiotic called Lactobacillus plantarum DR7. First things first, we have to reduce inflammation. We have to reduce inflammation. So in this way, GBX Fit is also going to have a multiplicative effect in helping you to manage your cortisol levels. It also can help with bloating. And so if you're already feeling like, ooh, I don't feel confident in my skin, this can be something that can help you to deal with that bloating, that inflammation, and it also increases dopamine levels. And dopamine is our reward neurotransmitter. It is our reward that tells us that, that was a pleasurable experience that I just went through. Then there's the prebiotic, which is organic acacia fiber. And the acacia fiber helps us to wrestle back in our relationship with food. It helps us to reduce our cravings. It also, since it is an indigestible fiber, it will feed the bacteria in the gut, as well as helping to restore the gut barrier. We also have organic orange peel extract in this supplement that helps us to reduce our stress eating. So now we've got two different systems working to help us gain back control over this vicious cycle of all the things, right? So we are going to reduce our stress eating as well as reduce our cravings, which is going to help to reduce the overall cortisol burden. We also have Bifidobacterium lactis, BPL1, that is a heat-killed probiotic, which if you tuned in last week, we talked about how far that we have come in understanding that bacteria do not necessarily have to be alive to have benefit for us. And so it's only after we've dealt with the bloating, the inflammations, the cravings, the stress eating, the all of it, that we actually work on burning fat from the inside out. And that is what that Bifidobacterium lactis BPL1 does. Does all of this help to lower cholesterol? So we do have some supplements that help to maintain normal cholesterol levels. You could certainly think through adding in something like an omega-3 fatty acid, especially if you want to nourish the lining of your gut. Omega-3 fatty acids are very good for that as well. And then just remember, as you become more insulin sensitive, all of the metabolic effects of cholesterol will fall to the wayside, right? And so another supplement that comes to mind is Menta Heart when I think about normal cholesterol levels, because it's got black cumin seed oil in there, which helps to maintain normal cholesterol. It also has CoQ10, which if you are taking a cholesterol medication, you need to be taking CoQ10 like yesterday, because the most commonly prescribed drug in America is a statin medication. Statins can help to lower cholesterol, at least LDL, but they also inhibit the production of CoQ10, which makes your mitochondria dysfunction, which if you don't have good mitochondrial function, guess what? You do not have good metabolism. So that is, I'm on GBX Fit and don't need, yes, you do not have to need to lose weight to be using GBX Fit. Just like you don't have to have a hormonal imbalance to need Ignite. There's all kinds of benefits that simply come from these reductions in cortisol. So we're talking Happy Juice that can help to reduce our cortisol. We're also talking about GBX Fit, which can help to modulate our inflammatory response. And so, yes, all right, got that all answered up. The next thing that I would add to this whole bundle and everything is, believe it or not, Vita GBX, which is the multiple vitamin that Amare offers. And the reason that I chose that is because it contains selenium, and selenium is critically important for the overall function of the thyroid. And if we're talking about overhauling our metabolism, we simply must talk about the thyroid and how important that it is. You also could consider adding in something like a GBX protein, which is going to help to maintain that muscle mass over time, as well as Ignite. And you may be saying, like, well, why do I need Ignite? I thought Ignite was for sexual wellness. All right. So remember that we need to work on our overall hormonal balance in order to have a good ability to lose weight and maximize our metabolism. And when we are able to use something like Ignite to kind of take the tip of the iceberg off the plate while we work on these more core issues of cortisol and insulin, this can really help you to get to feeling better before you're actually able to, like, get rid of all of the inflammation. So I love Ignite for that purpose. Back to the protein powder for just 1 second. I do want to mention that the protein powders they are vegan. They also contain the complete array of amino acids. And this is important because inside of Mentabiotics, one of the ingredients that you will see is glutamine. And it's also in the protein powder. And glutamine is the primary food for the cells that line your gut. And so if you are also concerned about having a healthy gut, this can make a huge difference. And so those are just places where you can get started. I am going to put a link to a cart that has the Happy Juice, GBX Fit, Vita GBX. It has the GBX protein as well as a 2-pack of Ignite. Reach out to me if that is, too rich for your blood. The great news is that Happy Juice is on sale right now for 20% off. So you will save 20% there. You will also get free shipping, as well as an Origin plant-based vanilla shake, as well as an extra container of Edge. And that Edge alone is worth $75. And the plant-based vanilla shake is worth about $40 or $50. And so you're getting a big array of products that are not going to cost you an arm and a leg, because you're going to be getting even more. So I am going to put this in both of our chats. If I didn't invite you to this meeting today, go to the person who did and let them be sure to send you a link. And if this isn't the perfect cart for whatever you have going on in life, just reach out to me and be like, nope, I'm actually more interested in the kids' products. Nope, I'm actually more interested in sleeping, or maybe you've got minor aches and pains that are running through your body, all of the things. We have tons of options that can be helpful for whatever is going on in your life. And so you also get a free reboot when you work with this. And you can also add in, if you know that like your gut is jacked at baseline, just reach out and let's get some digestive in the cart, all of the things. So what questions do y'all have? I still have a few more minutes. That is basically what I had aimed to teach today, but I'm happy to answer questions that you may have. And then I will let you know that we will be back same time, same place, same link, same Facebook, same everything. We will be back next week. We may not be on Facebook next week. So all of you peeps on Facebook, because I forgot I have a special guest next week. I will upload the replay to Facebook, but we won't be live. But next week, I will be talking about how to get your kids to sleep. And so if you are interested in learning about the kids' products, I mean, number one, just get the kids products, especially that Kids Mood Plus. Like everybody I know takes Kids Mood Plus every single day, and it is amazing. And so get the Kids Mood Plus and then come in next week, and we're going to talk about how to help kids to get to sleep. And we're going to be having our special guest, our leader on the Amare team, Kelsey Brigman, who has really seen some dramatic transformations with her children. Lots of questions coming in. I'm taking these things and had blood work. My TSH is very high. Number one, if all your doctor checked was a TSH, change doctors, because I want you to go back and get a complete thyroid panel that has TSH, T4, T3, reverse T3, as well as TPO antibodies. We need to be sure that we're working on all those things. T4, T3, great, but where's the reverse T3? And do we know if you have Hashimoto's? Because we have differential approaches there. If your TSH is really high, you probably have an underlying insulin or cortisol issue. And that's what we need to work on. Is the men's Ignite something that helps regulate hormones for weight loss? The men's Ignite is there to help to produce more androgens. And so if you are in a situation where maybe you feel like your testosterone is too low, or that you're wanting to put on some muscle mass, take the men's Ignite. There's no benefit for men taking the women's Ignite, but especially in postmenopausal women, so a ton of women swear by taking the men's Ignite, that it like really helps them feel better and be able to maintain that body mass. Because as women get older, we tend to lose muscle, and losing muscle is a recipe for disaster. And it's also harder to build muscle as we get older. Took the Kids Mood Plus last night and slept amazing. Yes, the Sleep Plus is my jam. I love it. Totally off topic. All right, I love it. Curveballs. If someone takes allergy medicines for years, can your body get used to it and not respond anymore? Probably. If so, what do you do about it? And what do you do for allergies? Why do we have allergies in the first place, right? So it's not about what do we do to mask it. It's about why do we have them in the first place, okay? So what are the root causes of allergies, right? Well, deprivation and lack of exposure as a young child is part of it. But the biggest cause of allergies, we tend to think of allergies as an outdoor problem, a ragweed and a pollen problem. No, it's not. Allergies arise from inside of our homes. It is the allergies that we experience inside of our homes that lead to problems outside of the house. And so work on your indoor air quality, open up your windows, get air purifiers, check your house for mold, specifically for nasal allergies, get a neti pot, clean out the allergens from your sinus cavity, all the things. Will this help to unclog, detox the liver so my estrogen will stop recirculating? All we can do is try, friend. That's all we can do. And we do know that by getting the reductions in the cortisol, we're going to allow the gut a fighting chance to work more effectively. Somebody in the background says, will taking Ignite make it harder to live a celibate life? It depends on your motivation for why you're choosing to live that lifestyle and how powerful that motivation is. And so does Ignite help with the desire and the arousal? Yes, that's what it's for. That's absolutely what it's for. So it kind of just depends on your convictions around that. Air purifier, good options. I have Dysons and I love them. The Air Doctor is also a good one that I have an affiliation with. As long as you've got some like advanced HEPA filtration, you're all good. Okay, we got more. I have Sleep Plus coming. Big thing about Sleep Plus is remember that your max dose is 4 capsules. I think people try to take 2, but you can take 4. What products should I avoid until I get results from testing? Cheryl, I don't know that I have enough information that I feel confident to answer that because I don't know enough about what's going on in your particular situation. And so, okay. I am over and out. I encourage all of you to, if you haven't done it yet, this is your sign. This is your moment. This is your sign. It is time for you to come and join the mental wellness movement. Amare is the mental wellness company. We all deserve to be mentally well, and we all deserve to transmute all of these toxic emotions. We all deserve to have a healthy, happy body weight, a good relationship with our body, and we can work on our gut brain axis to bring both of these things into balance. The 20% off sale does not last forever. Don't miss the sale. Don't miss the sale. Don't shop without a $10 off code, and be sure that you are getting what you need. These supplements, I'm telling you, if you want to reduce your cortisol, improve your GABA signaling, and have a little bit less stress and stop ruminating about negative emotions, let's do that. Come and join the happy people that are out here. And I will talk to you all very soon. DM me for whatever questions that you have. And I am over and out. My name is Dr. Lindsay Elmore. I believe that everybody deserves to be healthy, and that includes you. I'll see you guys next week.